Bisping believes both Jones and Stipe will retire at UFC 295. Dana White fires back at the haters of the Tony Ferguson vs Paddy the Baddy fight, and Henry Cejudo says the UFC might have just made a huge mistake. All in today's video. Bisping and Smith believe both Jones and Stipe may be retiring after their fight for the heavyweight title at UFC 295, and that if Jones doesn't retire, Tom Aspinall stands a very good chance of beating him.
Tyson Fury was asked about Tom Aspinall recently, and he had some comments. Let me just find it here. He said, "I'm the John Jones of boxing, of heavyweight boxing." Okay, and he's got a point there. He's undefeated. He had one draw, and he said the old version of Tyson Fury was Vladimir Klitschko. You could say that he's the John Jones, and Vladimir Klitschko had his day until he ran into me. He had his time until he ran into me. He said there's always that next guy, and that next guy could be Tom Aspinall. I'm bringing him in. I'm using him to help me train for Francis Ngannou, which is a really smart thing to do because, as we've talked about, Ngannou isn't going to box him like a boxer. He's going to box him like a mixed martial arts, so there will be different rhythms and timings and things like that, and shot selection. But he ultimately went on to say that he does believe that potentially Tom Aspinall could be the person to beat him. He said people are unable to beat him. It's a very tough one. But even though Tom Aspinall's a mate, John Jones is considered the greatest of all time, so I don't know. It's probably like, can anybody beat Vladimir Klitschko before Tyson Fury beat him? Probably not. But if anyone can beat John Jones, it'll be Tom Aspinall and nobody else.
I don't know about anybody else, but Tom Aspinall can. That's for sure. And I don't think that's any secret that to anyone listening to this knows that we're huge fans of Tom, and you guys are pretty close. So I do believe in Tom Aspinall. I do believe that he has the skills and abilities, and I think that I believe that Stipe does too. But I think I've always said that I think Tom Aspinall is a younger, faster, stronger version of Stipe.
It's almost disrespectful as well to Stipe to be having this conversation when the Stipe fight is around the corner, which I can't wait. And by the way,
Tom Aspinall, that fight intrigues me a lot, more so than either combination with either one of those guys, to be very honest.
You know Stipe well. Win or lose, will this be his last fight in your opinion?
I have no evidence or direct conversation with him about it, but if I had to give you an answer, I would say probably. I would say probably either way. Probably Stipe's last fight.
And then one thing that I theorized a while ago is that I believe, I hope I'm wrong, but I think there's a really good potential that we see a double retirement on that night. If Jones wins, if Jones beats Stipe might retire, as you just said. Say, listen, I had my time, earned tons of money, and it goes back to what we said before about having a simple life. Stipe is definitely that guy.
Simple. Yeah,
super humble dude. I was like, I did it. I'm getting on now. I've made money, I've broken records, etc. But I think John Jones might retire as well because I'm not sure if he certainly doesn't need to prove himself. And you stay at the top long enough.
And then what's next?
Well, you're going to start taking on the new generation of heavyweights.
He could end his career. Just say he wins. He could end his career beating Stipe Miocic. Does he really want to stick around long enough till he takes a loss off of Tom Aspinall or Pavlovich, or is that the legacy he wants to? Because if he loses, then either he retires off a loss or he's got to keep fighting, and then he's got to go through contenders, and then he doesn't want to do that
because at some point he will lose.
At some point he will lose. At some point
you will lose, and he will have accomplished everything there is to accomplish. And by beating Stipe Miocic, that's a great time to bow out and go live his life.
And as Jones' career comes to an end, here's some footage of where it all started in his first pro MMA fight.
John Jones is a rookie here in the ring tonight. Jones with a suplex! Big! He flipped him over. Now he's running some left hands down onto Bernard. Yeah, definitely a great suplex here, but I was showing a little cocky behavior there, raising his hand a little too soon. And if he didn't have the intention of Bernard before, he has it now. Bernard is out. A first round.
Ladies and gentlemen, winner by referee stoppage in the first round out of the blue corner, Team Bomb Squad, John Jones.
And Dana White responds to the backlash from fans after the fight was made between Paddy Pimblett and Tony Ferguson.
I think a lot of people think that Paddy is unproven. And I think a lot of people feel like this is a fight that Tony isn't in deep water like he's been in his last several fights. I think the matchmaking and the timing on this fight is excellent and couldn't be more perfect. If you look at Tony's last few fights that he's fought, he looked damn good before, the Chandler finish. And every fight that he's fought in the last, 2 or 3 fights, he looked damn good right up until the end. It's a fun, interesting fight with two fun and interesting characters.
And then answers the question as what would happen to Ferguson if he was to lose this one.
If Tony should lose that fight against Paddy, what's next for Tony after that?
Yeah, I mean, I would let Tony make that decision, but I'm sure if he loses the Paddy, he would probably look at calling it. He's had a great career. You know, done a lot of things, had a lot of big fights, and probably be a wrap for him. Hopefully.
But Michael Bisping disagrees with Dana White on this matchup and says that this is a lose-lose for Paddy Pimblett. A lot of people on social media are talking shit about this fight, and I don't understand that. Paddy the Baddy has got to come back. You've got to give him a credible opponent. Tony Ferguson's a wild motherfucker. It's as simple as that. He's a fighter, man. He will fight to the nail. You literally have to finish Tony Ferguson to get him to stop coming forward. There is no quit in that man. At 39 years old, yeah, of course he's taken a lot of damage, but he also has a lot of experience, and against Bobby Green he was doing okay. Tony Ferguson is still a dangerous man, make no mistake about that. And it's a really, really tough spot for Paddy Pimblett. It's a lose-lose. Already there's people out there talking shit, saying they've just given Paddy somebody easy. Tony Ferguson is not an easy fight for anyone. While Henry Cejudo believes that the UFC could have made a huge mistake and Tony Ferguson could easily upset the hype train that is Paddy the Baddy.
Could Paddy the Baddy beat somebody like Tony Ferguson? Does he have that skill set? I think we could all agree that Tony Ferguson is not the same guy. Yeah, Paddy the Baddy loses to Tony Ferguson. Does he lose a lot of that hype train? But stylistically, this fight, it's a freestyle fight because the way I see it, both of these guys are freestyle fighters. I think the UFC could probably shoot themselves in the foot on this one. I really do. I think Tony Ferguson is a way tougher matchup than what people actually think. So I'm not sure what the UFC's planning on kind of pulling here, because if Paddy the Baddy does end up losing, you know, they lose one of their great white hopes.
During his press conference, Dana White also reacted to Israel Adesanya's DUI and gave Adesanya some sound advice.
Bad decisions, man. You know what I mean? No matter how many drinks you've had, if you drink, don't drive, man. Ubering is easy and all this other stuff, but when you have that kind of money that kid has, get a driver, have somebody drive you, or Uber or whatever. He made a bad decision. Thank God nobody was hurt, him or anybody else. And you know what I say about mistakes. How do you handle them after you make them? So hopefully that's a one and done for him and he never does it again.
And to end on a stupid note, Bradley Martin has spent the last few months claiming that because of his size he can defeat a smaller fighter in a street fight. While that is yet to be tested, just the other day he was filmed sparring fellow content creator Sneeko in some boxing. Here's the clip. Thanks for watching, remember to subscribe, and see you in the next one.
So I'ma let my chest poke out just a little. I'm headed to the top, can't stop in the middle. We are on the rise, so keep watching the sky.